So if you want to scale your business in 2026, then you have to understand that the rules have changed. Well, not really. The basics are still the basics, but the tools we use have definitely changed. So I want to make this video to go over some of the biggest talking points, in my opinion, for what could help most people scale their business from where they are now to where they want to be in 2026. We all want to grow our businesses, but there are a couple of key elements that I believe most businesses are neglecting, and we have new tools available to us in the form of AI and all these things. So I'm going to go over a couple of key points here. This is going to be quite high level. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of breaking down the exact numbers of ad campaigns. I've done that before in other videos and I'll do that in the future. But this is going to be a high level overview of business in general and just parts of business that I think are going to be the most important in 2026 to take your business to the next level. Let's get into it. So let's start with the most uncomfortable truth in all of business. You are not doing enough. And I do not mean that in a judgmental way. I just mean you are not putting in enough volume to get the results that you actually want. So we can look at something like content, for example. Now, most people post like once a day, if even that. Most businesses don't even post once a day. You should probably be posting more like 10 pieces of content per day. You need to do so much more volume than what you're currently doing to get the results you want. And the issue is most people feel like they are repeating themselves, or their audience or their market have heard this already, and you are probably wrong. You might think that people have heard what you have to say and they know what you sell and everyone knows you, and that's just not the truth. People don't know who you are. They don't know your product. They don't know your business. You need to do so much more. Remember, every business today is competing in an attention economy, and you're not just competing against your competitors. You're competing against the entire internet for people's attention. All creators, all entertainers. Now, you don't need to beat them all. They're just doing general entertainment. You are looking for people that could actually buy your product. So it is different. But you have to get people's attention. Not everyone is looking at your content like you think they are. Most people aren't your followers. They don't see your stuff. And today on social media, your followers don't even see your stuff. So you could be literally doing 10, 20, 30, 40 times more than you're currently doing, and people will still not be bombarded with your stuff. But the point is, you need to be doing so much more than you think you need to. In my opinion, making content is also, how can I take one topic and say it in 20 different ways? And most businesses don't fail because they post the wrong thing or they have the wrong idea. They fail because no one ever hears about it in the first place. The next crucial thing for 2026 is you need to know your numbers. And by numbers, I mean every single thing. This is where real businesses can scale, and where people that do not know their numbers, they just keep having expensive hobbies. Now, revenue is not the only number that matters. I'm talking about your cash flow, your cost to acquire a customer, the lifetime gross profit of the customer. How long does a customer tend to stay with you? What happens after that first sale? What upsells do you have? What subscriptions do you have? Downsells? If you do not track these things, you cannot optimize them. And if you do not optimize them, you cannot scale them. And I want to say this clearly because this is something that people just do not get. Sometimes it's not that you're bad at business. It's just that this specific business model potentially doesn't even work. And the only way you can find out if it can even work, if it's even feasible in the first place, is to actually track the numbers. Because without tracking the numbers, you do not know. You don't have a clue. You are shooting in the dark. You need to know, is this model actually feasible, and are we in a position to scale? Because without the numbers, it could just be that the business model doesn't work and it was never profitable to begin with. Remember, scaling only works when the math works. Until then, everything is just noise. The next point I want to get into is that you should be educating yourself relentlessly. So every time someone hits a ceiling in business, it's because there is something that they just do not understand. Remember, when someone makes more money than you shouldn't make excuses, oh, they were born into a richer family or they had this privilege. No. They are just better at the game of business than you, and you need to learn more to get to that level. Now, education could come in many forms. It could be ads, it could be funnels, it could be landing page design, it could be offers that you are busy building, it could be accounting, taxes, whatever you need to educate yourself in to take your business to the next level is something you need to invest in 2026. Now, I know the education space is a difficult space because there's a lot of talks online about people being scammers or these fake gurus or these charlatans. In my opinion, you can never waste money learning a new skill. If you get to make a once-off payment in return for a new piece of knowledge or skill, then there's going to be the biggest return on investment ever on that. The biggest return on investment is on education. And if you haven't implemented what you have learned yet, it's still not wasted money. It's just an investment. And it might be a long-term investment, but you just cannot waste money on educating yourself. With that said, though, there's so much free information at the moment on the internet. Between educating yourself on large language models like ChatGPT and all the free videos we have on YouTube, there's so much place for you to educate yourself. There's almost no excuse. You just need to put the time in. So if there's something you don't know, it might mean that you need to work after hours and sit just educating yourself. And it might be a small little subdomain, small little niche of your business that you don't understand, but you have to understand it because it's those things that's actually keeping you back from taking it to the next level. The biggest issue here tends to be ego. So you might think you know something, but there's always someone that's going to be 10 times better than you. So put the ego aside, find someone, even if they're in your industry, book a call with them, pay them their fee. Learn from them and then put that in place in your business, because I can promise you that's the blockade in your business right now. And don't let your ego stop you from getting there. I mean, imagine you had to look back in 10 or 20 years' time and explain to your future self or your children or something like that and say, well, the reason I never made it to where I want to be is because I was too prideful to book a call with someone that was better than me. Or I thought I knew it all. And the issue is, if you think you know it all and that is not true, that is the most dangerous thing in life and business. So be willing to learn new things wherever you can. You need to also eliminate these self-limiting beliefs. So there are very few markets and businesses where someone couldn't do 10 times what they were doing right now. And what people in general tend to do is they tend to say, oh, my business can't grow because the market's saturated, or the country I stay in, the market's too small, or no one needs this product anymore. And these are just excuses, once again, that we feed the ego to justify to ourselves why we have not yet been successful. Because if we had to actually accept the truth, and the truth might be, we are not good enough yet to be successful, and we are not good enough yet to take our businesses to the next level. And that's a very difficult truth to accept. So we tell ourselves the market's saturated, or I don't stay in the US, so my market's very small. And it's the same thing when I hear people say, oh, meta ads don't work for my business. That is very seldomly true. Meta ads can work for anybody. The truth is, you haven't figured out how to run good ads yet. You might not be able to make good video of you talking, good creative, good landing page, good ad copy, good offers. This is all involved in the process of advertising your business. And saying something doesn't work is very seldom the truth. It's just that you haven't figured out how to do it yet. So put those self-limiting beliefs aside and be willing to accept the fact that you might not be good enough yet to grow, because that is probably the real answer. Remember, simple execution beats complex strategy. So most people don't launch their idea until they have the perfect funnel or the perfect website, or they get this perfect piece of content where they're actually getting beaten by someone that just puts something to market, learns from the feedback of the market, and then makes changes. You do not need more information, you need more reps. So launch faster, learn faster, optimize faster. The businesses that are going to win in 2026 are the ones that can make moves the fastest. If you're wasting months perfecting little details, you're going to fall behind. Get something that's good enough, like a minimum viable product, put it to market, listen to the feedback you're getting from your actual users, and for people that aren't even your users yet, see if that feedback is actually worthwhile to listen to it, and then make changes to the product, and then just continue to optimize and make changes. But don't waste time waiting for the perfect product or service. Now I want to talk about where I think the digital space is heading in 2026. So we have a lot of very cool tools at our disposal at the moment. AI being the biggest one of them. I know AI is a catchphrase for anything technology these days, but we have so many tools like ChatGPT, things for content creation, things for copy, things for products. We can do everything with AI these days. And there's never been an easier time to look like an expert. And I think there's a lot of people out there that aren't experts, that are posing like experts. And it's very easy to hide behind short form content. And that's why I think in 2026, long form content in the form of YouTube videos, educational content, as well as lives are going to be the biggest thing. Because I think what people are looking for is a way to find their way through the noise and to see who are actually knowledgeable and who can I actually trust. And the cool thing about content with real people talking about products and services and people playing with ideas, breaking down ideas, you can do this with long form content, and then you can actually see how the person's brain works and how they actually think. Long form exposes depth, and the same applies to live content. I think lives are going to become a bigger thing. Live shopping, live educational pieces, live Q&As. I think this is an awesome way to interact with your audience in a way where they know it's not edited. They know you haven't had a month to come up with an answer and use ChatGPT and everyone you know to just come up with a simple concept. If someone asks you a question on a live and you respond in a natural way and you break down the topic alongside them, it's really something that really builds trust and social proof. And there's just nowhere to hide with that type of content. So in this age of AI where it's so easy to make content, I think content with real people talking on topics, long form content like this is going to become more and more valuable. And then, as I mentioned, I think lives are going to be a big thing in 2026. This is also a reason why I don't think AI is anything to fear. I know there's a lot of Armageddon, doomsday predictions around AI, but if you look back through time, it's always been people competing against each other with tools. So first it was a simple hammer. Then we potentially got the internet and we competed against each other in terms of our businesses and things using the internet and the tools available to us. Now we just have much better tools. We have AI at our disposal, but it's still people competing against other people. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I think it's just going to make us better. It's going to make us more efficient. It's going to make us faster, but it also gives the charlatans more space to hide. So it's finding the sweet spot between using the AI to optimize your business and your content, but also filming content in a natural way, in a long form way where people can trust that it's actually you and not some automated, polished, overly edited AI content. So use AI in your business, but post content in such a way where it's just like so super real, where no one doubts your expertise. Remember, scale is built, it's not found. Scale is not something you stumble into. You build it piece by piece. You build it by doing more than feels reasonable. You build it by knowing your numbers. You build it by removing those self-limiting beliefs. You build it by acting faster than your competitors. And in 2026, you're going to build it by posting real content and being yourself. Thanks for watching this video. If you find this kind of stuff valuable and you enjoy business content, advertising content, like and subscribe, and I'll try and post these kind of videos as often as I can.